So the Democrats don't know what to do, and they're just hoping that it'll go away.
Got it. Congressman Comer, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Liz.
Okay, sure. When we return, infectious disease.
How much you can save.
Hi, I'm Jane King, and thank you for watching. This show is all about public, private, and blockchain companies. We bring you the innovators behind the companies making the headlines in that space. Some are sponsored, some are invited, all are curated and focused on telling you, the viewers, their story. Here we go. With cannabis becoming more mainstream, there is also a lot of concern with biopesticides. And with me to explain more about that part of the cannabis industry is Eric Newell. He's Vice President and General Counsel for Digital Development Partners, to explain more about the company and what you're doing in this area. So Eric, welcome. And if you could kind of explain, what is the foundation, the bread and butter of Digital Development Partners?
Thanks, Jane. The bread and butter of our company is a biopesticide that we got through the EPA last December. It's called Might Extreme. My partner, Fabian Denault, developed that, and during his time as a medical marijuana provider in Montana, he was having trouble with spider mites, particularly in his grow indoors there. And if you're not familiar with the spider mite, they show up, they put a web around the plant, in about a day's time, suck all the chlorophyll out, and the plant's done. And each of those plants in the cannabis industry is worth $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And they can really impact a grow 30, 40, 50% of the grow.
Wow. So
we got that through the EPA. We're going through the states now and qualifying. We're through 3 or 4. We're starting our sales. And that's the reason we started this company. And we're very excited about its future.
Now, you recently announced a corporate name change to Blackbird Biotech. So what was the reason behind that decision?
Well, the digital development name, when we took over the company, was there. Last year, we were going to change the name, and the COVID situation kind of messed everything up. We wanted to make sure people knew what we were doing. Might Extreme is a different kind of pesticide, and it's a biotechnology. We feel like we have other products in the pipeline that are different. They're sort of reimagined, if you will. We like to look at it that way.
Explain a little more about Might Extreme. So that's a pesticide of some sort. Can you explain what that does in layman's terms?
It kills the mites that destroy the plant on contact. And more importantly, it knocks out the eggs. Those little guys get under the leaves. They hide under there. So the Might Extreme will make contact with those nasty bugs and the eggs. And the way our product works, they just disappear. It's also very, very effective on the molds and mildew that show up in many of the big indoor grows, because there's so much humidity generated by the hydroponic, in particular, the hydroponic grows. There's so much humidity in those buildings that the molds and mildew show up. And if you have so much of it, you can fail the state testing. You have those unwanted materials you can only have so much nasty stuff, if you will, within the tested material. You'll fail. So the way our product attacks that mold and mildew, it essentially just disappears, and it doesn't show up in those tests.
Interesting.
At those state levels.
Now, does that Might Extreme work on all crops, some crops?
It works on everything. The spider mites don't attack everywhere. They're a big problem in some areas, but not others. But they are a pest of serious note in the cannabis and in the industrial hemp, specifically in the indoors. Also outdoors when you get into like the Pacific Northwest in particular, and then some areas overseas as well. The grapes suffer from the spider mites, hops, coffee, banana, and then indoor houseplants. They get some crazy things going on there, and the treating it with the Mite Extreme seems to really take out the soft shell pests. If you have a hard shell pest, it may not be the product, but those soft shell pests are directly in the line of fire.
Mm-hmm. How does it compare with other similar products, the Mite Extreme?
That's really sort of the point of our whole company, really, is that we feel like we have an incredible competitive advantage. The way that Fabian put together the chemistry of Mite Extreme, we're able to treat ticking cannabis, for example, all the way through the day of harvest and still have our 0 parts per million testing results for banned substances and all of the state marijuana testing that you have to go through to be able to sell it into the market. Mm-hmm. Competitors such as neem oil, it's a treatment, malathion, mm-hmm. You have to back away 2, 3, 4 weeks from the day of harvest so that those products can fade from the plant, so they don't give you a result in the state testing that knocks you out and you can't use that product. So it's that 2, 3, 4 week window where the THC levels and the CBD levels and the CBG and all of the terpenes, they really come into the full, robust genetic potential of those plants. So we're able to protect that during that time. And that is the value proposition.
And I understand that the Mite Extreme is non-toxic. So explain that. Like, how is it a pesticide and non-toxic?
Yes, it is. We like to say that we're reimagining things. Most of the pesticides, we've seen many of the pesticides, the mites are developing a resistance of some sort to those chemicals. Ours is not poisonous, if you will. It does kill the pests, so it is a pesticide, but it does it a different way. And we don't expect that the mites will be able to develop a resistance to it or any other plant bugs, just because of the way it works. And so it's food grade. All the materials in the product are food grade, and it's very safe. The workers are protected. You don't have to put a hazmat suit on. Unless there's so many mites you want to put a hazmat suit on, but we can take care of that. But it's very safe. You want to use goggles, of course, just you don't want anything flying in your eye. But it's extremely safe, and we see a huge advantage to that going overseas in particular for the workers. Just it's cost effective to the farmers and the owners of the properties overseas, but the workers are going to be so much better off. Mm-hmm. Just from a human standpoint.
Right. Well, and then what are your plans for getting that into the sales channels?
Well, we are being very particular in that. We're looking for the right distribution partners. We've reached out to 2 or 3 in our country here, and we're working through that. We see huge opportunities even in the shorter term overseas. We have some relationships we're establishing in the Middle East, Central America, and in China. One of our board members, who used to be the only director of our company until we joined with him, Jack Quinn, is from China and has many contacts, and he is working that for us right now. They have spider mite problems in China. They grow a lot of hemp over there. It's huge, obviously, to feed that many people, massive farming. And that's a major market we think we can get into.
Okay. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Eric.
Appreciate your time.
Azurrx is working on a COVID treatment. And with me to update us on exactly where they are with that is CEO James Sepperstein. And James, great to see you again. And I think last time we talked, we were getting a lot of vaccinations, but it feels like we've even made a lot of progress in the past month or so with kind of, getting rid of COVID, or at least suppressing it. So what can you tell me about what you're working on?
Well, we certainly have, right? Lots of big cities around the country are opening up. People are going maskless now, which is terrific progress. However, we still see that COVID is rearing its ugly head around the world, and not every nation can go maskless yet, but thankfully we can. We're still working on a therapeutic, and there's a lot of therapeutics that are being looked at the FDA. Our particular drug, the change since I last spoke to you, was that we've had to change our protocol. We were looking at admitting patients who were hospitalized and then transitioning over to oral medication. However, the number of hospitalizations is so far down since we last spoke that we've had to go back to the FDA and ask them to change our protocol to just look at patients who are being treated as outpatients. So as the pandemic progresses, we have to progress ourselves. So we're still waiting for our first patient to join, even though all our sites are open. But we have since then expanded our sites to the Ukraine and to India, and those sites will be opened up in July, just in the next month.
Okay. Well, that's a good point, because we're, enjoying somewhat freedom here, but so many parts of the world are not quite there yet. So that's where you're targeting, it sounds like.
We are, and we will continue to look at the long haulers, as we call them, or long COVID. Since we last spoke, there's been a lot of information out there, specifically with these folks who are getting, these side effects, brain fog. They're still testing positive for the virus. Lots of folks are saying, well, I've had COVID already, I'm not going to get vaccinated. And that's really the wrong approach because COVID is still in their system. They can still spread it, quite frankly. They should get vaccinated so they don't get any worse. There are plenty of cases being reported where patients who have been vaccinated are still getting COVID. And those are some of the variants and the mutations that are out there. So we need a product that's going to eradicate the virus from the body, especially the long haulers, and that's what we're working on. It's called niclosamide.
And you mentioned the vaccines, as good as they are not 100%. I mean, we have heard, and they, the clinical trial data showed that they were 94% effective and so forth, which is amazing, but still 6%. So, and so there will be still some people who get it. There will be, variants, as you mentioned. So there's still a market. Still a market for this treatment. And tell me how the treatment works too. Is this a pill? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's a capsule, and it's a micronized version of niclosamide that's been around since 1982 as an anti-parasitic. It'll have to be taken twice a day, but we have a much lower dose that's currently available. And you don't have to take bucket loads of this capsule. You just take 2 small ones. And you usually will be on treatment from anywhere to 4 to 6 weeks. That's what we need to test in our phase 2 trials. And hopefully it eradicates the virus, takes it right out of the GI tract, and it doesn't allow the spread to the lungs and the cardiac tissue.
Now, you explained you're still looking to get the trials started. So where does this, do you have a timetable? And I know this is subject to a lot of different variables, but do you have any kind of timetable, an ideal timetable that you could see where this might actually be able to be in use?
Yeah, so we have our sites open. We're just waiting for the first patients. But once we start getting patients coming in, we quickly believe that by word of mouth, we'll get patients in. We actually are developing a website to help us in our recruiting. I'll have that out there fairly soon, probably within a couple of weeks. So when patients are feeling, they have GI upset or diarrhea from COVID, they should be able to Google that and it'll bring them right to our website and they'll know which facility to go to. We have at this point well over 15 sites spread out around the United States. We have our largest one is in Houston right now. We're opening up one in New York as well. So all the big cities and even some of the small towns, we have some small towns in Texas where COVID has been a hot spot that we've opened. Obviously, we're going to do some international work in Europe and in India as well. So we do expect once these larger sites are open, this trial will enroll very, very quickly.
Okay. Well, I would look forward to an update when you start to kind of get some of that data in and see how that's working for you, James. That would be great to hear about that.
I appreciate that. Go out and enjoy this great weather.
Thank you. PetProducts.com. Thousands of products. An Al Simon Wee Wee Pet Inventor Company. Computer hacks have gotten a lot of attention lately, but one company has a technology, an independent platform that may be able to help prevent some of these. And with me to explain more about this is Alan Gyahi, who is the CEO of GlobalXData. So great to have you with us.
Great to have you, Jane, and hello to everybody who's watching us.
Yes, so if you could just explain, because of course we went through the Colonial Pipeline situation, there seems like there's a hack, every week. Explain what your company does and how it is different than some of the technology platforms that we're seeing right now.
Sure. So gladly, we are a Swiss-based technology company. I'm from Switzerland myself. We do have operations and a publicly traded company in Canada. And in the US, we have our subsidiary as well. We trade under ticker SWISF. What we do is we developed a suite of communication tools, such as email, messaging, backup, and file share under the brand Secure or on Secure Safe. So what Secure does, spelled S-E-K-E-U-R, what we do is we developed a proprietary email system and a proprietary messaging system with privacy and security in mind. Our advantage are the following. For example, we don't use big tech platform, so we're not on Amazon Web Service, we're not on Google or Microsoft Cloud. We've never developed under those platforms. That makes us independent in terms of privacy and also less prone to hacking because we have never developed our code in open source. So that's kind of one of the advantages. And all our data is stored in Switzerland, which gives you the strictest data privacy laws in the world. Mm-hmm. So if you were a business or somebody who doesn't want to have your data mined, because we don't do data mining at all, you would use maybe Secure Mail as opposed to Gmail or Office 365. And then definitely you don't want to use WhatsApp when you conduct business. You want to use Secure Messenger. That's pretty much what we do.
Very interesting. Tell me a little bit about you, your history, and what drew you to privacy.
So I am from Switzerland as well. Swiss people are very private. It's a nature. It's in our DNA. It's in the Constitution. I've had personal experiences with privacy breach, so it kind of drove me into developing these solutions for people who really need some protection. Because our data is out there and is for sale all the time, there's no service you can go to. I mean, I'm even afraid of giving my email. We all have maybe a couple sets of email, one for the mailing list when you sign up for something, and then you want to have your private email. But what we don't realize is all those other email services, they data mine you. So I wanted to offer, basically, we wanted to be the privacy king when it comes to your data and communication. Mm-hmm. So we developed the system about 8-10 years ago in Switzerland, and then we started to push internationally. We have a couple of telecom operators as partners. America Mobile, owned by Carlos Slim and his family. They have about 300 million subscribers based in Mexico. And then we just signed a deal with Axiata Group, which is the largest South Asian telecom operator. And, we're growing the business like that because privacy and security are becoming a big concern. And, I'll address these hacking. The basic concept of how come we hear about all these hacks and email phishing and so forth? The problem is that the big companies, the big three or the big five, you used to have the big three in the auto industry. Now you have the big five in data and digitization. You have Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook Group, which is WhatsApp as well. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they make a lot more money on data mining your data. And it's not like, when you hear about a hacking, it's not like a company is trying to hack you. A company will buy your data. Their priority is to exploit that data within less than 30 days or it becomes stale, and they don't really protect it. And then you have a hacker hacking that business, let's say, that needed to target you for something. And that's how our data gets leaked out. It may or may not be directly Facebook or Google or Microsoft, even though they also have their breach, but it's all the other companies that buy your data that don't protect it. Yeah. So it's really like a tornado upon another tornado, and it just never stops. Hacking and breaches are not going to stop. They're going to increase. I don't know if some of us know this, but data breach costs the global economy over $6 trillion US a year in lost income or damages. So that's a pretty big economic damage.
Looking forward to more conversations. Thank you so much, Sean, for coming.
Thank you,
and we'll get updates soon.
Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Petproducts.com. Thousands of products. And Al Simon, Wee Pad Inventor Company. Fandom Esports is a new way for people to interact with both esports and sports with real-time data. And with me is the CEO, David Vinokurov, who will explain more about what Fandom is doing. So welcome, David. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So how did you get involved with Fandom Sports Media?
Well, the whole premise has always been, how do we close that engagement loop? We have people at home watching TV, nowadays watching competitive esports, and sitting along and playing on something completely different on their phone. So the premise behind what we're trying to do is to close that engagement loop, have people be able to predict in real time or near real time what's going to be happening on their main screen or on their mobile device, and really, as you said, change the way that people are interacting with that data coming in real time for sports and esports and other streamed content.
Now, so you say interact, does that mean wagering, and what other things?
So yeah, we do have a wagering license, but again, not everybody is of age and certainly not legal everywhere. What our goal really is to allow people to predict what's going to be happening, with leaderboards, prizes, digital gifts, non-fungible tokens, which is our new digital assets. Basically, as I'm sitting, I'm watching an event take place. It's a simple as swipe left if you think this is going to happen, swipe right if you think that's going to happen, and then that's tallied into a global leader base. You can challenge your friends. There's a whole social community, similar to anything that you'd see, in a trivia night in a pub or something. Just a way to interact again with data coming in.
Yeah, interesting. So this is a mobile app that people can download, and they can interact with their friends and with their favorite teams and make predictions and just kind of enjoy the sports together.
Yeah, so we're going to have an app-based version as well. It's all powered by a proprietary machine learning backend system that we just recently secured the IP for. This intelligent backend, it's been used to sort, interact, and present data in very actionable ways in the healthcare sector, with insurance companies, supply chain logistics, facilities management. So we've secured that exclusive license. It allows us to present near infinite predictions, where a lot of our competitors can maybe do 100 or 200 predictions in a very static way, and keep people engaged longer throughout the entirety of a broadcasted event, and maintain a unique position in the market. So we're very excited about it.
That is a perfect segue to my next question: is what makes you unique?
Yeah, so like I said, the amount of predictions that we can generate, the velocity with which that we can present them in a simple, clean user interface is completely separate than what you would see on any other type of wagering site, period. The ability for us to then apply that in a gamified way outside of wagering and increase fan engagement across all stream types of content, again, is a unique proposition that we're going after because we can present that data in new, unique, and faster ways than our competitors can.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's your outlook for the industries you're involved in? So your sports, there's media, tech. I mean, this is all kind of seems like coming together. I mean, how do you see this industry and all these industries?
Absolutely, yeah. So what we've seen in esports specifically, starting with what happened last year with COVID-19, and the stopping of broadcasting of sports, we saw all the projections where we saw esports and esports wagering would be in 2024. That happened in the first several months of 2020. So the growth rates have accelerated. The sports wagering market is a $500 billion a year market. We see a lot of people rushing into individual state markets as those markets become open. So Fandom, we're able to participate in the gaming economy because we're appealing to all ages gamers. That's a $180 billion market. The esports and esports wagering market, that market's growing 40% year over year to about $14 billion this year. And, sports wagering, it's the Super Bowl of all wagering, to use the pun. So we're glad to be part of growing global multi-$100 billion markets.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. And it feels like it's just kind of starting, this whole esports and gaming.
Yes. Well, it's early in the U.S. It's been extremely huge in Asia for numerous years now. And as the states are opening up their licensing regimes for wagering, esports wagering is coming in on that front. So our first plan, our site is live now, fandomesports.gg. People can log on. They can see the predictive capabilities of the platform. And then, as the states scale out, we'll be examining different ways to get into each local market. And then, once we're in that market, then extend our capabilities to regular sports wagering as well.
Okay. So you touched on this a little bit. What do you see in the future? What are your goals for Fandom?
Our goal for Fandom is to enable all competitive esports to be accessible through our platform so that people can log on, watch their favorite stream, and make predictions or wagers, depending on where they are and if they're of age and so forth. While we're doing that esports rollout, we're going to be training our backend system to apply that same type of capabilities to sports and sports wagering. So hopefully we should have news on those initiatives within the next 12 months. And our larger goal is just to fandomize everything, take predictions and polls as you're watching any type of content. And why not, if someone's watching The Bachelor, we're going to predict who's going to get a rose, right? That'd be lots of fun.
That's the opportunities are endless, yes.
Yeah, we just want to fandomize the world, basically.
Okay. Well, thank you. And come back with updates as you add new features and so forth. So thank you so much, David.
Thank you so much as well. Glad to be here.
Big thing about the American dream is we can dream big. We want to help you get to the next level. We are invested in your success, not merely your financial success, but in your independence.
Fox Business, invested in you.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience.
If you're over 50, imagine you could turn back the clock on your stiff, achy joints 10, even 20 years. Imagine you could do this without products that just temporarily hide the symptoms. Imagine no more. Introducing Instaflex Advanced. It targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness. It doesn't just cover up symptoms. It's so powerful you can have better knees in just 1 week. Maybe that's why it's the #1 selling joint brand at GNC. But you can only get your complimentary sample by texting FORM to 42424. Do it now.
If you don't have final expense insurance, this message is for you. Life Care provides valuable whole life insurance to help cover final expenses, medical bills, burial costs, and unpaid debt. A final expense insurance policy is fast, easy, affordable life insurance, available to anyone between the ages of 50 and 80. No medical exams, no lengthy questionnaires, and no waiting period. To find out how you can get final expense insurance with a guaranteed lifetime rate lock, call 1-800-811-6443.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year, I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
It's time to get out and drive, San Diego. Whoa, this just in. Massey Nissan wants to buy your car. Right now, your vehicle may be worth more than you think. We'll buy all makes and models. No purchase necessary. Get a transparent, competitive offer in